Hi there, we're going to take a look at Chapter 11 in the Adobe 2017 The Essentials training book. This is dealing with starting with PowerPoint, or actually bringing content that's already been created in PowerPoint and bringing it into Captivate, maybe to repurpose it. So I'm going to go up under the File menu. I'm going to come down to New Project, Project from MS PowerPoint. I'm on a Macintosh. Things really won't be any different. So the menus might look a little bit different, but everything we do is going to be the same as you would be on Windows. So I'm going to go over here to my desktop, and I'm going to come down and I'm going to find my folder 2017 data, and I'm going to double click on that, and here I have a PowerPoint S3 underscore policies PPTX. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the PPTX file because it retains all the animation, audio, links, anything you would have done interactively within PowerPoint. A PPTX file retains all that. Now, if you happen to be a user who's on an older version of PowerPoint, you could bring in the PPT version. But we're going to bring in the PPTX version. I'm going to double click, and in a few seconds you're going to see, whoop, I have to grant some permissions because of my virus protector here, and I'll go ahead and pick that. Sorry about that. So this opens up here, and you actually saw a little blip of it there. It's actually opening up PowerPoint in the background and working with Captivate to bring the information in. So we're going to bring in 10 slides. We open up this window here, and on Windows version of that, you're going to see a little banner or a little paragraph on top of here talking about high fidelity. And basically that means that we want to always bring in the PPTX file so it brings in all the animation and stuff like that. So here's the biggest difference between the Mac and the Windows. You don't have that description up here, and on the Mac you don't have a checkbox to say high fidelity. You've got to pick high fidelity. This is over on page 189. It's about step 2, 3 checkboxes down. It says Windows users, select high fidelity. So that brings all the interactivity, audio, links, anything that was done to it in PowerPoint. It's going to come over into the Captivate. Now the next thing we're going to do up to the top, it says preset sizes. This is the size and height of that actual project from PowerPoint. I can, in theory, ask Captivate to change this to a different size. I would not do that. If I needed this to be 1024 by 768, I would go ahead and go back into PowerPoint, save a copy of the file, resize it to my size I need in PowerPoint, and let it do all the heavy lifting. I wouldn't let Captivate attempt to resize a PowerPoint slide deck. I just don't trust it. It's like having, like we mentioned in class, a Ford mechanic work on your Ferrari. Yeah, he probably can, or she probably can, but the best way is to have that Ferrari mechanic work on that Ferrari. So that's why I say, if you're going to resize it back in PowerPoint so you don't have to ask Captivate to resize it here. Secondly, all the slides have little check boxes on them. That means you can pick and choose which ones you want to include in import or not. There's a global select all and a global clear all, so you can go ahead and click on or click off minimal amount depending on what you want to do. There's 10 slides here. I'm going to keep it linked to the master, so if I want to make an update, I can go back into PowerPoint, make a change, and bring it back into Captivate, and it will update. It says here advanced slide on mouse click. What that's going to do, it's going to put a click box around the whole slide here in Captivate, and every time I want to go to a different slide, I just click, because their click box is going to cover up the whole slide, and an action is set up to go to the next slide. And that's how I go between the slides. Now, if you want to add your own buttons or click boxes to make it go forward or backward or whatever you want to, you should probably still leave on the mouse click and then remove the click box that it puts on the slide, so you can add your own directional capabilities of buttons or click boxes. The other option underneath here is automatically. What that does, it doesn't put a click box on it. What it does is the slide will run as long as it takes if you set up a preview for presenting this in PowerPoint. So there's a presenter mode in PowerPoint where you can go through and kind of rehearse the whole presentation. It will remember the amount of time you spent on the slide, and that can be used for an automatic playback. So it would play back the amount of time it took you to do a rehearsal to go through it. I'm just going to do on mouse click. I'm going to click OK. And now what it's going to do, it's going to bring in every slide from PowerPoint, turn it into a Captivate slide, and also it will add that click box to everything. So first thing I want you to do is see down here in the timeline that there is a click box item here on the timeline. That's going to be on every slide, and when I click on that click box down here in the timeline and I go over here to properties, I can look at the actions and see on success go to the next slide. So if you don't want to have a click box control going to the next slide and you want to set up a button or something like that, then delete the click box, add a button, put the button wherever you want it, rename it whatever you want, go up under actions and tell it to go to the next slide, and you can use that as your interactive button to help you navigate through the project. So keep the click box if you want to, or eliminate it and set up your own navigation. So just for fun, I'll leave that on there. So now what we're going to do here is I'm going to preview the project. I'm going to go up over here to preview. I'm going to come down to preview the project. You know that's going to go from the first slide through the slides. These are some policies and procedures for the employees of the super simplistic solution company. Next slide, I put this on here, so we'll just use that. So here is the next slide. Now there's no button on here, but there is a click box that Captivate put on it by default. And if I'm really quiet, when I click on the slide, you're going to hear a sound of a click. That click is coming from the click sound that was put on it in PowerPoint. So that click sound is coming because it was put on there or programmed on there by PowerPoint. Keep that in mind. So I'm going through here. Okay, I'm going to close, and I'm going to turn the page here in the book. I'm over here on page 192. What we're going to do here is I'm going to zoom up here a little bit, and I'm going to show you something that you might not have seen on the screen. I zoomed up to about 200%. Notice on the bottom of every slide there is a URL click or URL link to go to this site. The problem is because there's a click box on top of all of these, because when it was brought into Captivate it was added, it may interfere with somebody being able to click on that, because you can see it says click box. It doesn't say that URL link. So that link probably won't work because the click box is on top of it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to change my view back, we'll say to 100%. And I'm going to look in the book on page 192 here. It says on the top of the page, it says step 2, go to any slide in the project and double click on the click box. Go over in the properties panel under options and notice there is a size, width, and height for the click box. What we're going to do is I'm going to uncheck constrain proportions, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to move the height up of that click box so it's above that URL. Then here's the real magic. I want all the other click boxes of this type changed to this height, so I don't have to do every individual one. So over here in the properties panel there's a hamburger menu next to transform. I've changed my overall height, and it says you may click to apply this change in height to all items of this type in your project. That means every click box height will be changed to 565. Now here's what they don't tell you, or they do, but they're kind of being sneaky. If you have any other click boxes on here besides this big click box put on here by Captivate, you have one over some menu item that's just 20 pixels high, this will change it to 565 pixels high. So on the surface, for this instance, it seems like a good idea, but if there's only these click boxes on every slide, great, go ahead and do it. But be careful, if you have other click boxes on there, it's going to change the size of them also. So there's the good and the bad of this. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this to all the items of this type, aka click boxes. So now if I go to slide 5, for instance, the click box is above the URL. So now if I go F4, or let's just go up to preview project, and I come in here and I play, and I go to the next slide where I have that click box. So now when I come down here, the hand is over the click box here, but down here under X-ray, this is actually over the URL. So let's see if this works. So it's opening up Firefox on my machine and going to Flickr and going to some of these older photographs where they got these photos for this particular project. So I'm going to quit out of Firefox and come back to Captivate's preview. So it was just a method of moving the click box up the height, showing you it can be applied to all click boxes, and then we showed you the URL works fine. Just be aware it's going to do all of them. Now, page 193. I want to make a change in this, we'll say. Maybe I want to, I don't know, change some a graphic, to change out a photo, change something that I did within PowerPoint. So on page 193, step 2 says, go to Edit, and come on down here. Oh, I can't get to it. That's because I'm in preview. Well, let me get out of preview. So let me click End here. And let me just go to slide, let's say this one. And so I'm going to go up under Edit. I'm going to come down to Edit with Microsoft PowerPoint, edit the presentation. So now what it's doing is making a temporary file of this whole Captivate project, and you won't believe your eyes here, but it opens up Captivate, this project of the slides, back into PowerPoint. And what it's doing, it's actually opening up this in the Microsoft, we'll say shell, and it's allowing me to change things. So I'm actually on slide 1. So this is a little bit of a gotcha. Even though I was on slide, we'll say 5 or 6, when it opens up, it takes you to the first slide. So let's see here. I'm going to go to slide 2 right here, and I'm going to change something here. It says at the right, delete the words for file collaboration. Okay, so it's just going to read, to continually develop the finest file management software in the world. So I'm going to remove the 3 words for file collaboration. And let's see here. Oh, in fact, I'm just going to remove all of this. And file management software, I'm going to type in the world. Whoop. Ta-da! Now, I'm going to save this. Now here's something you got to look in the book. Page 193, step 3, it says Windows users. In the upper left of your window, there's a little button that says Save. You're going to click that button. I'm going to go up under just PowerPoint and quit. But on Windows, there's going to be a Save button here in the upper left. And you're going to click Save, and it will quit out of PowerPoint and come back to Captivate. Trust me. Now it says you're prompted to say, oh, do you want to import that updated presentation? Yes, I do. So now what it's doing, it's going to bring in the whole thing again. So this takes a moment. Not to whine or complain too much. If you only made one change on one slide like we did, it's still going to bring in all 10 or 50 or 100 slides. You don't have any control over that. So it's done. Let me go to slide 2. There it is. Continually develop the finest file management software in the world. So that was my update, and that was my change. This all happened because I had the checkbox of linked checked when I first brought the slides in. Next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go and I'm going to look over on page 195. And what I'm going to do here is it says if you bring in a PowerPoint slides and they're linked into a Captivate project, then we'll say let's quit Captivate, save changes, and I'm going to put it on my desktop. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up, actually I'm going to try to open up PowerPoint. So I want you to go to your Windows menu, and I'm going to do my shortcut for PowerPoint, and I'm going to open up PowerPoint. So PowerPoint's actually running right now, and I'm going to open up that training file. Not the Captivate project, the original PPTX file. So I'm going to go open, and it says on my Mac and all this, and here's the PPT file. So I'm going to double click on that. Notice it picks up that change I made within within the shell of Captivate. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to take this picture and I'm going to cut it from here. And I'm going to go over and I'm going to get this picture and I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to paste. I'm going to move my little paper tabs in here a little bit. Whoops. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just move this over here and click on these things because I'm not really too familiar with how these graphics are set up and so on and so forth. So anyway, the thing of it is I'm making a change in this. Now I'm in Captivate. I'm just going to go up under the menu in Captivate and I'm going to save changes. I'm happy as a clam. I'm going to quit PowerPoint. I'm going to restart I'm going to restart Captivate. Remember, it was the Captivate slides we brought in were linked. So I'm reopening Captivate and I'm going to reopen up my S3 policies. Remember, this is the Captivate file that has the import of the slides. Now I made a change, and that was to get rid of this picture here on slide 2. Hark, it isn't changed. What's dealing here? I linked it. So here's the key. If you look over on page 196, it says open your library panel. Notice over here, whoops, I should have done the scroll bar, but over here it says presentations, S3 policies, 10 slides, red dot. That's because I edited this in PowerPoint outside of Captivate completely, made changes, and now it says you don't have the latest version of the slides in your Captivate project. Would you like to re-import that updated PowerPoint presentation so it has the new slides or the new changes? Yes. So I'm going to click here. So now it goes through the process of re-importing all the slides again, including my one that I changed the photo on. So we'll wait here just a second as this updates. Okay, there you go. Slide 2, replaced it with that old library picture or the bunch of books, resized it down. So now I have the latest version. I have a green dot over here. Now here's something important. Bottom of page 196, it says, note, if you no longer want the PowerPoint presentation in your project to be linked to the original, you can embed the presentation in your project. On the library, or in the library, right-click the presentation and choose Change to Embedded. Boom. It is no longer linked back to the original PowerPoint slide deck. So you can have it, linked for a certain amount of time, and then when you finally say, okay, I'm just going to embed it now, they're finished changing it, I'm not going to take any more chances of it being changed, let me go ahead and link it. You can also right click if it's embedded and change it to linked. So you have the control to link it or unlink it here in the library. Okay, one more thing that's in the book here. It's called Rescaling Projects. So if you get a project that's a project that was done by somebody in your department like 5 years ago, and they created 800 pixels by 600 pixels, and now you or need to make it 1024 by 768, you can ask Captivate to scale up the project. Now this isn't necessarily foolproof or neat, so be aware you may have to rearrange text boxes and graphics and different things manually. So be aware of this. Always do this on a copy. Never do it on that original 800 by 600. To do this, we're going to go under the page 197. Step 2, it says rename this project. So I'm going to go ahead and do a save as. I'm going to name it Rescale. And I'm just going to save it. Now the next thing is I'm going to go under step 3. It says go to modify menu, pick Rescale Project. In this window, let me move it over here, user defined sizes. So this is the current size. I could manually type in sizes, or if I know I need to make it a preset of, let's say they're going to do 1200 here. They actually were typing. I guess I'll do that. I'm going to click here on width, and I'm going to type in 1200 pixels, and I'm just going to click off that. Now I'm not hitting tab or anything. I'm just going to click off of it. And because I made it smaller, I made it the width larger, it's up to 153% of the original size. Now here, don't be fooled. Look over here. The original project's pixel sizes here, I don't know why they pick a specific number here. This is the original. I've changed it to 1200. Maintain aspect ratio is on, so the height is 898, and the percentage of increase is 153%. Be very, very careful when you're moving up things this large and you have photos on there. Anything that's bitmapped, PNGs, JPEGs, TIFF files, Photoshop files, and you start enlarging them and you don't have enough resolution, your pictures may look very pixelated and very yucky. Be very, very careful about doing this. That's why you do it on a copy. So now at the bottom it says, if the new size is larger, rescale the project to fit the new size and attempt to rescale all the objects properly. Okay, here we go. The resize project operation cannot be undone. Are you sure you want to continue? Okay, now look at this. I am viewing this at 100%. Unfortunately, the PowerPoint slides are brought in as JPEG files, so all this text is really just graphics, but you can see how terrible it looks once it's scaled up. Let's go to a photo on slide 3. The photos were bad enough before, you know what I mean? They weren't that sharp, but now they're really bad. So this rescaling, I have mixed emotions about it. Yeah, if you had to emergency get something out, maybe you would do this, but boy, I tell you, you suffer the consequences. Now, don't lose sight of this rescaling done on quote-unquote just a total Captivate created project. We're doing this on slides that are from PowerPoint, and it's making those into graphics and making them bigger so they look crappier. So attempt this on a full-fledged Captivate and see how it looks. You probably won't suffer anything except for the quality of your graphics. That's because the resolution of the graphics might not have been high when they were brought in. Maybe they were only 72 dpi and not 300. So if they were higher res files, then you could scale them up, probably wouldn't hurt anything. But just know this is kind of a gotcha. I'm going to go ahead and pause this for a second to set something else up. Okay, I'm back. Now just for fun, I mentioned that I would cover something that wasn't covered in the book. That is, I have a project here. I have brought in some slides from PowerPoint. On slide 4, or I should say after slide 4, I want to put in some real live Captivate slides. So notice I'm going to go up first, and I'm going to go up here to Insert, New Slide, and I'll pick, let's say, blank. This is a real live generated Captivate slide. I can go Shift Control C, and I can put a caption in, and I can put buttons in. So what I'm saying is you can bring in and start to create Captivate slides in here intermingled with your PowerPoint imported items that you can copy and paste slides from other Captivate projects. So I'm going to go and get another Captivate project. I'm going to pick, let's see here, I'm going to pick Mask Photoshop Me. Now this is a little bit above and beyond, but this is worth your time. So here's my other project. And I'm cruising through the neighborhood here, and I see this slide here. Hark, I want that slide in my other Captivate project. So all I've got to do over here on the left on the film strip on the thumbnail of the slide I want, or if I go Shift, I can click Multiples, right click, Copy. Go back to where I want to put those slides now back into my, let's say, S3 policies. So I can go ahead and I can click here, right click, and paste. And now it puts those slides that came from that other lesson right into this project. So you can copy and paste slides from older or other Captivate projects and mingle them into another new one. You may have to change the size, you may have to move objects around if it's not identical in size, you may have to change so the caption colors and the styles of things match. But you could copy and paste slides from one project into another project. So you can do that. So don't be worried that you can't introduce new material into a project. So I'm going to let this go for right now. If you have any questions, just you send me an email. I'll try to answer them, and we'll go from there.